Heya, Aerith Desu and welcome to my review of Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. So I know I'm not dressed as Aerith as we see her in Crisis Core, but she appears like this at the end of the game, so bear with me. I'm really happy with this. Crisis Core has gained a remaster. You can also check my review because I was able to play Crisis Core, the original one that came out for PSP, and I did a review for that one. And now they decided to launch a remaster and put it officially in the timeline of the Final Fantasy VII Remake. So it's now a thing, and it's hilarious to go on Twitter and see people go crazy because suddenly people that ship Cloud and Aerith are basically being mind blown. They are getting triggered and raging because Zack is a thing. And I even saw Square Enix being directly attacked by the remake fans. I call them remake fans because for me they are people that know nothing about Final Fantasy VII and the games that came like Dirge of Cerberus, Crisis Core, and see people just going nuts because Square Enix made a post promoting Crisis Core and saying that this is Zack's legacy. And they are absolutely right. So Crisis Core is a prequel story for Final Fantasy VII, and in this case, Final Fantasy VII Remake. So now we know that Aerith's first love was Zack, and Crisis Core is basically focused on Zack Fair and his story. We see a lot of characters that are introduced here as new characters, and we see a lot of characters that we already know from Final Fantasy VII. Let's go by parts. So the story focus on Zack. And I must say, I love Zack's story. It's not your typical story because you know that Zack is not in Final Fantasy VII except for flashbacks. Well, now on Remake, you basically suspect that there is an alternate timeline where Zack is alive, and I'm really afraid of what they are going to do with that. But let's ignore that for now. So Zack is not alive in Final Fantasy VII story, so you know that this isn't going to end well for Zack. You'll see what his daily life was like, him meeting Aerith, his path trying to reach his dream, which is being a first soldier, and Zack's dream is I love Zack's energy because he wants to be a hero and he's this super hype anime guy, and I love his energy, and he's such a good match for Aerith. You can see that a lot of things that she was also taken from the time that she spent with him. The bow that she uses is a recommendation, something that Zack suggested that she would wear. Also, the pink dress that she starts to use was also a suggestion that Zack made. The fact that she's selling flowers to begin with, that was also Zack's idea. So you can see that besides influencing Cloud, because we will see that Cloud they will meet as Cloud is a trooper, as just a small soldier working for Shinra because he was trying to make it a soldier but he wasn't able to, so he's just a Shinra trooper. And they will be, because Zack, it's really weird to see all these first soldiers. You have Angel, you have Genesis, and of course you have Sephiroth, and you see that they are a little bit stuck up. So they do the dangerous jobs, the jobs that no one wants take, and they are a little bit stuck up, even though Angel is a little bit accessible, and it's really fun to see his interactions with Zack because he's basically his direct superior, like a friend and a teacher. You see that he's still a little, he keeps his distance from the troopers. And then you have Zack that just wants to befriend everyone, basically. He befriends Shinra troopers, Turks, he just tries to be friendly all around. And his friendship with Cloud is really wholesome, and you will see, of course, Cloud will be in the coma due to Mako, the experience that they were trying to do with him, and he will just be observing Zack. And I always say this, for me, Cloud is a mixture of his base personality, because he's a really shy guy, with Zack's honor and this is what the soldier is supposed to be like, and some of the arrogance of Sephiroth. So I feel like Cloud is basically having a multiple personality disorder of all the things he saw during that coma. And Zack is just an amazing character. I know that Cloud is special, but for me Zack has a special place, really. And the story is really interesting. You are also introduced to a lot of characters in this game. I will point out, because Sephiroth, you already know, he is not really explored in this game, because Sephiroth is the main villain of Final Fantasy VII, so he's Cloud's enemy, his rival, basically. But you will meet, you will see here Tseng. Tseng looks really young here, although when you see in the flashbacks in the remake, he doesn't look different from the present. That doesn't matter. Let's ignore that. You see Rude and Reno, although they don't appear much here. And you see, I mean, you see Aerith, of course, but characters that you recognize from the Final Fantasy VII. You also see Tifa, and let me say, Tifa has suffered a huge downgrade from the PSP. I will talk about what this remaster has done right and wrong, but Tifa, she has such a beautiful design in the PSP version, and they decided to change it to be more like the small flashbacks that you see in Final Fantasy VII Remake. But they treated her so badly. I love Tifa, but that outfit that she has just looks something pasted to her body, and she's not that clean also in her model. I don't know, she suffered a huge downgrade. I actually would prefer if they would just put the original PSP look here. Then, for the characters that you don't know, so we are introduced here to more first soldiers. You have Angeal, like I said. Angeal is the main teacher, friend, support of Zack in Soldier. And he will also inspire a lot of things on Zack. Zack adores him. He calls Zack as puppy. Because he's always following him around and like wagging his tail, looking for orders from Angeal. He will also take the Buster Sword from Angeal, because Angeal will basically pass his dreams and honor, that is basically a meme, he will pass them on to Zack, and Zack will really try to take care of the legacy that Angeal gave him, although he will take that legacy and make it his own. And you, of course, here have, you are also introduced to a new Turk. So in the Final Fantasy VII, you have a female Turk, which is Elena. Here you don't see Elena, so we don't know where she popped out of, but we see Sisney. And that's actually not her real name, she does mention that. And I feel like Sisney is... she has a weapon really similar to Axel, and she also has the red hair, so I feel like she's a female Axel here. I don't know. And I feel like they try to do this kind of teasing between her and Zack so people can ship him with another girl, but for me, really, Sisney is not that attractive. I don't dislike her, but I see no reasons to like her either. I think she's introduced and she's really underdeveloped. It's just to say that Zack has another girl as a friend. I don't know what's the objective, really. But nothing against Sisney. I just think her design is not really that original, and I don't see her being developed enough for me to like her. And of course, we have Genesis. Really, why? I know there are people, there's a layer of fans that really enjoy Genesis, but for me, he's really annoying. He's always reciting the same lines from Loveless because he has all this plot around Loveless and the gift of the goddess and rivals. Basically, Loveless is telling the story of Genesis and the other first soldiers that are his friends, so Angel and Sephiroth, and he's the one looking for the gift of the goddess that may as well be heaven or just destruction entirely. And the goddess disappear at the end of the game. I don't know, it's so weird. You don't understand. You just know that Genesis, Angel, and Sephiroth are all experiences that were made. So Sephiroth is basically Hojo's experience. And then you have Angel and Genesis that are basically Hollander's experience. So as well as you have Hojo as the mad, awful scientist in Final Fantasy VII, Crisis Core has Hollander. And I feel like Hollander is an attempt to have Hojo, but in the comic version, I don't understand, because he's this scientist that doesn't really have any aim besides trying to surpass Hojo. He wants to be recognized as a great scientist, but Hojo already has that place. And he made this experience, so Angel is a perfect monster. I mean, there's a meme around that. And Genesis is the failed experience. And Genesis is trying to get Sephiroth cells, Genova cells transferred into him so he may survive because he's decaying. I don't get it. And then Hollander becomes, he is injected with the same cells because he was dying and Genesis gave him cells. The plot is so confusing for the scientist and Genesis. I feel it's so all over the place, it doesn't even make sense. And don't get me started on Angel's plot as a monster. I mean, he's trying to do good stuff, but then he asks Zack to kill him because he's a monster and shouldn't exist. Really, what is going on? I mean, the plot presenting Zack is really well done. Presenting what Aerith, Tifa, and Cloud's life was before Final Fantasy VII is really well done also. But then they were like, oh, we need a villain and we need a mad scientist again, so let's grab some other people. And I feel like the plot for that is all over the place. I mean, I love Crisis Core, but we have to recognize there are some stuff that are not really well done. I'm also gonna mention Kunsel. Kunsel is introduced here as another soldier. I don't remember if he's a third or I think he's a second class, because Zack began as a second class, and I think he is the same class, and Zack gets promoted because he's the protagonist, and Kunsel just remains a second class. And Kunsel is also there supporting Zack, but I feel more like he's a presence in the beginning of the game, and then you will receive emails from him time to time during the game. But I feel like he's really supportive of Zack. But other than that, we don't know a lot about Kunsel. But the game is really awesome. About the gameplay and about the remaster. So you can see that the textures and the looks, they try to upgrade the models to be more like what we see in Final Fantasy VII. I think the one they dedicated most was Aerith. Aerith does look like she's been taken out of Final Fantasy VII Remake, and you can really see the upgrade in her. Zack has his moments. And I will say that Cloud is really well done, and I think Tifa deserved a little bit more love. The textures in general are upgraded. The gameplay is really similar to the original one, but here it's much more easy, more similar also to Final Fantasy VII. The proficiency thing with the Buster Sword, dudes! That's so difficult. How the hell do you reach 100% on that? I think if I reached 1 or 2%, and I did use it a lot, it was the max I could do, because I don't get the thing with the proficient with the Buster Sword, and I don't really see the advantage, because In Final Fantasy VII Remake, you can put some stances with Cloud, so stances that are similar to Sephiroth or Zack. But here it's not a stance, you just do like a Buster Sword thingy where you can guard and do a more powerful attack, but it just takes like 2 hits. I don't know, I didn't understand that, and I don't remember if that was in the original game or not. Once again, I didn't play it in the PSP, so I don't know if I just didn't know how to do it. It's also really easy to access the menu and the items during the battle, which was not easy to do when I played the original game, so that is improved. In general, the gameplay is improved. It's not really different from the original one, but it is improved. Also, we have different voice actors for this game. I cannot say if we have for people like Angel, Genesis, I'm not sure. But for Zack, everyone talked about the difference of voice actor. And let me say, I will be honest, when I started playing the game, I was like, this isn't the same. I really like the energy of the original voice actor. Why did they have to bring another one? But then, as you go on, you recognize the voice actor's work and you get used to it. And it's not I got used to it, so it's fine. No, he does a really good job, and he does embrace what Zack is and his energy, and he does an awesome job. So for anyone who played the original Crisis Core, I do understand that you picked with the voice changed, but really give it a chance because the voice actor does an amazing job and is really well done. And we have the voice actors from the remake for Aerith, Cloud, and Tifa, which is awesome. I really love hearing them. I really loved how the voice actor for Cloud tried to do like a younger voice for Cloud. That was such a nice touch. And I mean, it's really well done. Does this remaster deserve to be as expensive as it was on day one? It doesn't. It doesn't, because they are promising remake quality, and they did do the effort, but it's not enough. This is shot by shot the same game from PSP. This is almost a port, but with better graphics. And yeah, they tweaked a little with the gameplay to become more accessible, more similar to the remake, but it doesn't deserve the price that they were selling it for. If it was a little bit lower, I would say this is awesome. But as expensive as it was, it's not worth it. But hey, I loved being able to play it on the PS4, being able to experience the game all over again, being able to cry in the exact same moment as I did. I'm sorry I can't show it because it's a blocked scene, but I just cried my eyes out once again, even though I knew exactly what was going to happen. And let me say, I did try to do the missions, so you have a lot of missions to do, and I did try to do a lot more than I did with the original game. The gameplay was being fun, but it's so repetitive. The fights are so repetitive, and the missions are also. You have the Treasure Princess missions, which are interesting to do because you see more of Yuffie, because Yuffie is in this game. I must say that it's really weird to see such a small Yuffie beside Zack. I don't know, it makes me a little bit confused. And please, someone explain me, why does Zack die for a bunch of troopers at the end of the game, but he has a mission of fighting 1,000 of them? If he's able to do that, why isn't he able to survive? Do you get what I mean? Also, the same things that I said for the original Crisis Core. I cannot accept that Genesis is the base core for Sephiroth's paranoia and fall down, and the reason why everything happens in Nibelheim. I cannot accept that. Also, I feel like the game is really developed, the story is really developed, but I don't understand the part for Nibelheim. I feel like they made it for people that know what happened. because it's so rushed. I didn't remember feeling like that when I played the original Crisis Core, but I felt in this one. I'm not saying they changed anything, they didn't, but when I was seeing that, I thought, people that don't know what happened in Nibelheim, this feels so rushed. I mean, Nibelheim is just over. I feel like that's made for people that already played Final Fantasy VII through and they know what happens there, so we don't need to develop what is going on. I don't know, I feel like it was rushed, and this is a critique not for the remaster but for the game in general. The gameplay is really accessible, it's really easy to do the boss fights, you just spam, use the items, always put a phoenix down so if Zack goes bye-bye he can appear once again in battle. The game is really well made. There really wasn't a need to do a review for this game, because the only question that needs answering is this remaster worth the money? I say the money that you pay on day one, it's not worth it. It should be a little bit cheaper, because this is not a remake of Crisis Core. This is just a remaster so you can have Zack in the remake timeline. So yeah, there are my thoughts. I think it was still a really fun experience. I really enjoyed. It's a cash grab, but I love Zack. I didn't have the opportunity to buy the original game, so this is my way of supporting. For people that paid for the first game, I say this is not worth it. So thank you so much. Please check out my Twitch channel where I continue playing games and doing different stuff, so check me there. If you like this content, please like this video, subscribe the channel, and I will see you next time. May music always be your life force.